Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson of iDebate Club. Today will be lesson 4, delivering your speech. Joining with me is again Leon and Tom, and I'm Lawrence. So let's dive right in.
So before we jump into the actual lesson, let's do a quick recap of what we learned on our last lesson. So in our last lesson, we learned what a rebuttal is and why it's important, how to construct rebuttals using the 4-step rebuttal method, the 5 types of rebuttals, how to use pre-rebuttals to rebuttal your opponent's points in advance, how to layer rebuttals and attack from multiple angles, how to identify and focus on key clashes in a debate, and common mistakes when rebutting and how to avoid them.
So now we come upon the question of why does delivery matter? So yeah, the question is why does delivery matter? Many people just think that giving their case, giving their arguments matter more than giving the speech. But even the best arguments fail if delivered poorly. Clear delivery builds credibility, connects with the judge, and shows that you believe in your message. If you speak too fast or if you speak too slow, the judge might think that you're overlooking some important points or you're unconfident. But by having a strong delivery, by having a strong speech, you can make your ideas more persuasive by showing that you are confident on your arguments and that you truly believe on what is on your side. Now, this is the communication pyramid. In this pyramid, it shows that it's 55% body language, 38% tone, and 7% words. This has been used to show how important your tone of voice and how body language can be. However, I'm here to tell that this is wrong. Well, kind of wrong. This was originally made by psychologists after he conducted some studies and was meant to show how people judge the sincerity or liking conveyed in the message, particularly that when there's a discrepancy. Nonverbal cues like facial expressions and the tone of voice become more influential. However, after some miscommunication, the public interpreters work as a universal rule for all forms of communication. But anyway, while the communication pyramid is still wrong, tone and body language is, yes, still important. As said before, so you're going to talk about the big 6 of delivery next.
So this is a big 6 of delivery. These are basically the 6 pillars of what is important when you're conducting a speech or any other public speaking event. The first big 6 of delivery is voice. In order to have good voice, you need to speak clearly at a loud volume so that everyone can hear you. If people can't hear you or what you say correctly, then what's the point of your speech, right? Next is tone. Tone changes how your voice sounds to match your exact message. So tone is when you match emotion to your message. For example, you may sound serious, you may sound excited, you may sound concerned. And this will help with your conveying of emotions. Next is pacing. In order to have good pacing, you don't want to pace your words out robotically because then it will just sound very wrong. You also don't want to rush and speak at a very fast speed because then like the audience, the opponent, or even the judge might not understand you. So you need to speak at a steady speed and use pauses to add impact, which we'll talk about later. Number 4 is body language. Now, this doesn't really make sense in online debates, but well, in some in-person events, this is very important. You need to stand tall. You don't want a slouched gesture because that can show that you're unprepared. you need to stand tall, use open hand gestures, and avoid fidgeting with your hands because that shows some nervousness. And we'll talk about how we can use hand gestures later on. Next is eye contact. You need to look at different parts of the room to connect with your audience. If you're just staring at your paper or something, then that would just look as if you're very nervous. And if the entire paper is covering your head, then you're not connecting with your audience in any way. You need to look at different parts of your audience in order to connect with them, to build trust, and to make your arguments appear stronger. Finally, there's emotion. Emotion is a little bit like tone, but this shows that you care. You care about what you're saying. If your speech is dull and emotionless, then you don't really seem to care about what you're saying. You seem to just be reading from a script. So this is very important.
So here's the first pillar of the sixth ones for the great delivery, voice. So basically your voice is your tool and you need to speak loud, project your voice, and make sure everyone can hear it without shouting. A good volume shows that you're confident and keeps the audience and judge engaged, and you can avoid mumbling or whispering. These make your words unclear, and vary your voice to keep it interesting, but always use the same volumes so it's not hard to hear what you're saying. And next up we have tone. So basically tone is how you sound emotionally. Maybe you sound angry, excitement, or calm. You need to vary your tone to make it more interesting. A monotone would just make you sound boring and makes the audience sleepy. So for example, a monotone like debating is fun because it helps us build our knowledge and confidence. And this just sounds absolutely boring. Instead, you can say like debating is fun because it helps us build our confidence and our knowledge. See the difference? This sounds way better than just a monotone, and it's more exciting and more engaging for people.
Now we come upon pacing. Pacing is just the speed of your speech. Do not speak too fast. The judge may not catch important data or important parts you're trying to say. And do not speak too slow. Otherwise, the judge will think that you're sleepy, you're not in the mode, and they may deduct points just on your delivery. For example, if you're trying to say some statistics, for example, like 89% of people do something. If you're speaking too fast, like 89% of people do this. The judge might not hear the 89%, and the opponent might overlook the 89%, and this 89% of data could really impact your debate. So speaking too fast, the judge might overlook some of the important points. If you speak too slow, like 89%, this is too slow. Then the judge might be sleepy. Well, you know that kind of feeling. You think that you're not supposed to be judged here. You sound unsure or dull. A steady pace with natural pauses, like 89% of people does this. This is a steady pace with natural pauses. You can listen, as I have said, 89%. I pause before saying the people. This gives the judge time to understand each idea. Use short pauses to highlight important points and to let your words sink in.
Next is body language. Body language is how you use your postures, gestures, and movement to show if you're confident or not. Use natural hand gestures to emphasize your points. You also want to stand tall to show that you're confident and prepared for your speech. Avoid crossing your arms because that will show that you're not really confident because you'll want to use open hand gestures. You also don't want to be pacing too much around the room. That can show that you're like just nervous and show that you just want to leave the room. Or fidgeting. Fidgeting is very bad. It shows that you're very nervous and you don't really want to be there. These actions can distract and annoy the audience. Eye contact also builds trust and keeps your audience engaged. You don't want to stare at your notes or at the floor. You need to look at different people or parts of your room as you speak. This shows that you're like confident and not nervous or speaking to everyone, not just reading. Because if you're just reading, like it feels like you just prepare just everything and now you're just reading, which is like very robotic and boring. For eye movement, you ideally want to sweep the room slowly to include everyone in the audience. You want to hold eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds per person or group. Avoid staring at notes one spot for too long because that may seem that as if you're just reading. And the best way to practice is to practice in front of a mirror or record yourself. Then you can visually see which parts you need improvements on.
And now we have emotion. So passion is contagious, and if your debate sounds excited, then the audience and the judge might also feel the same way, feel excited. If you sound bored, like debate is fun, the audience and the judge will also feel bored. So they might not like your speech, mark you down. You need to use voice, facial expression, eye contact, all these things we talked about to build your emotion and build your energy to show how you're passionate, you're concerned for your topic. Emotion helps people feel your message, not just hear it. For example, debating is fun and it changes life and makes everyone better. Now that makes your audience also feel passionate for debate and they're listening well to your speech.
Now we come upon to pauses and emphasis. Pauses are amazing tools in your speech delivery. A short pause can add more emphasis, can add more drama to your word or your points or its data, and give your judge a moment for clarity or signal transition to a new idea. But do not rush to fill every second with words. As most judges, they look for clearer speeches and fast talking. And that not only will make the judge, well, lose you, that will also overwhelm yourself, the audience, and the opponent. Pausing will also give you some time to think for better transitions or for better data. Now, emphasizing keywords. Highlighting keywords in your speech helps the judge focus on what is the most important. You can emphasize a word by changing your volume, tone, or pausing right before or after it. For example, this is a critical moment. You see that I emphasizes the phrase a critical by changing my volume, bigger, tone, more emphasis, and pausing. I gotta say it again. This is a critical moment. So I'm emphasizing on the phrase a critical, and this can show the judge that, okay, judge, this is important, but you are not saying it directly. You're emphasizing to let the judge know that this is important. Another example will be this changes everything. By pausing before this and change, it also emphasizes how important it is. So emphasis adds energy and meaning to your speech, and it also tells the audience to listen to that part of your speech. So emphasizing and pausing is very, very important when you come to emphasizing important things in your speech.
Next, hand gestures. Natural gestures make your speech more engaging and clear for the audience. If you're just sitting there while you're just speaking, then you're gonna look very weird. So that's why you need to use hand gestures. Well, In online debates, you typically wouldn't use them because people wouldn't see them anyway. But in-person debates, this is very important as hand movements emphasize points and show enthusiasm. However, avoid forced or repeated motions which aren't so natural. Your gestures should flow naturally with your words. Your facial expressions should also correspond to the emotions in your speech. If you're emphasizing something, then you would want to make a kind of exaggerated face. Smiling also creates warmth, and raised eyebrows can show interest or surprise. So this can be used during moments of suspense. If you look stiff, then you look very unnatural. You just look like a robot, just standing there in the room speaking. So you need to let your facial expressions look natural. If you stay in one expression for too long, then it'll also look very uncanny. So expressions help you connect emotionally with your audience, your opponent, and the judge, which is very beneficial for this debate.
So, how to practice your delivery? So, the most important part is practicing out loud. Practicing out loud can help you listen to how you sound, listen to all these different stutters and fillers like or ah or like, and you can basically improve on any part that you think on bad when you practice out loud, so you actually hear yourself talking. Second, you need to use timers because almost all debates have time limits for your speech. So use timers to make sure that you're not going over the debate time or going way under the time. And we recommend you to try to fill all your time and try not to spill over. Third, you need to record yourself. Recording yourself also is like practicing out loud. You can listen to your errors, but most important, you can look back at what you did well, what you didn't. And recording yourself can help you record your errors to see and improve future debates. Also, it's important to record yourself in the actual debate delivery. So it will help you improve in other debates. And here's a pro tip. You need to prepare for questions because the audience might ask something about you and you need to anticipate what the audience might ask. So your debate has like a difficult part that the audience might have difficulty understanding. You need to prepare to explain it to the audience, and it's best that you don't have that part, but you need to prepare for all the most of the questions that your audience might ask you.
And we come upon how to manage your nervousness. So being nervous is completely normal in a debate, as everybody's gonna be nervous in your first debate. I even get nervous some debates, even though I have done many already. So these are some tips to manage your nervousness in a debate. So first, taking deep breaths. These are always the most useful tools that can help you in debate. Taking deep breaths help your heartbeat slows down, and you can manage your breathing, and you can give a more excellent speech. Now, second will be practice regularly. The old saying goes as practice makes perfect. And it goes the same here in debate. Practicing your speech in home, in school, or even in a mini modern debate will help you to manage your nervousness. So then in the real debate, you can feel very relaxed, so you won't be nervous and jumbled up. Third will be stay hydrated. Always take a sip of water before you actually go to debate. That's what I always do. taking a sip of water makes your throat stay hydrated, so it won't like be dry, just like what I am doing now. So always stay hydrated. Fourth would be calm down. This is not really a tip here, but just try to calm down is the best. And last but not least, pretend that there's no audience. Pretend that there's no opponent. Pretend that you're only speaking to a cabbage, to a wall, to no matter who. So yeah, being nervous is always normal. And managing nervousness is what exactly matters here.
So these are all the common mistakes that you'll often encounter in any debate. Now, maybe take a screenshot here or something, but while you do that, I'm gonna explain some of this. Fidgeting will distract your audience and shows nervousness to like everyone. If you're fidgeting, then that means that you're kind of nervous and you don't really want to be here, and you think of a way to distract yourself and your audience. Slouching reduces your presence in the entire room. Like if you're in a slouching posture, then it feels as if you're just not quite there and not very confident, and it'll make you look very unprofessional. Reading robotically makes your speech dull, lifeless, and without emotion. Speaking too fast makes it hard for like everyone in the room to understand what you're talking about. And if you're talking about a very important argument in your debate, then this is very bad because everyone just missed the entire point because you talked too fast. Avoiding eye contact is also a bad thing because it breaks connection and trust with the audience. Filler words like or like, these are like fine if you use them once in a while, but if you use it too much, then this will annoy the audience and this will lower your credibility. Again, if you don't have a good voice, like if you're not speaking too loudly or if you're not speaking too clearly, then this will cause listeners to lose interest because they can't understand what you're saying. Using jargon or like complicated terms that no one will understand, this confuses the audience, the judge, and the opponent, and you might end up losing a point because the judge and the opponent can't understand it. However, complicated vocabulary is still very important to use, and if used properly, can make the meaning stronger and also can show that you're professional. But don't use like too complicated terms and no one will understand. Pausing is also important because if you don't pause this, you can't emphasize anything or let the audiences take a breather and understand and comprehend what you're saying. Closing strongly is very important because if you don't close strongly, then it leaves your message less memorable. Research has shown that the beginning of a message matters much less than the end of your message when it comes to like memory.
Okay, now we're gonna talk about how to handle your mistakes while speaking. So first of all, you need to stay calm and keep composing. Panicking may lead to more mistakes and make it harder to correct. Second, you need to correct your errors smoothly and quickly because otherwise, if you just leave it there, the opponents might point you out, and correcting it smoothly makes you sound natural, makes it sound go with the flow kind of thing. Also, do not apologize excessively. You can say like sorry, my bad, etc. Just don't be like, oh, I'm sorry if this part is supposed to be that. I'm so sorry. Don't talk like that. Also, keep your main focus on the message, not correcting your mistake. If you have like a small mistake, like you accidentally said a wrong word that's not crucial to a debate, just forget about it. Focus on your main claim, your main message. Also, move on without dwelling on the mistake too long. You just want to correct it, or in some cases just go on without, just forget about it. Just if you leave too much time for the correcting the mistake, you might not have enough time for the rest of your arguments, and you may think the audience and the judge may think that you are not professional. Also, you need to learn from your past mistakes. If you keep saying like 1 or 2 words wrong, you need to learn from your mistake and try to think about how you can be not make those mistakes. Also, you need to continue maintaining eye contact with the audience to show that you're confident. And if you break eye contact, you may exacerbate the mistake, makes you sound and look unsure. So for example, give an example, we can do something like this. Here's the argument. So debating is good because it helps us build our confidence, and it makes us good in everyday discuss. Oh, sorry, it's everyday argumentations. See, just say a bit sorry or just continue.
So let's practice with a motion. So the motion is debating is valuable in real life outside of competitions. Remember to use pauses, gestures, and emphasis, and you have about 1 to 2 minutes to prepare. Let's go.
So I think 2 minutes is up.
So who would like to come up and present their arguments? Just a brief argument, like 30 seconds or even 1 minute if you want to, but just remember to use pauses, gestures, and emphasis.
Anyone? If not, then we'll call up someone randomly to speak.
Okay, maybe we have like someone, maybe Leon, can you present your argument with all the pauses and
Okay. I think debating is viable in real life because of So first, sometimes if we are arguing with our friend or classmate, we can we can use our debating. Sometimes the thing that we say in debating, and we can use it in real life, and maybe we will win, maybe we will lose, but that is just like a practice. So I think debating is very valuable in real life.
Thank you. And may we also have Julie, can you also present?
If I have a mistake, I say sorry and the classmate don't the classmate the classmate disagree. We can use we can improve communication and persuasion skills.
I think that was wonderful. Then let's move on.
Okay, so this is the Q&A section. If you have any questions regarding our this lesson, then feel free to ask any questions. So yeah, you can just unmute directly and ask.
So no questions, anyone?
If there's no questions, then yeah, we can just move on. Okay, let's move on. If you still have any more unanswered questions, then you can still ask them at the end of this lecture.
So what's next? This is the last lecture of this 4-lecture session, and stay tuned for our next lesson in September. Keep practicing, and we can't wait to see your progress. Also, stay tuned for our updates in the WeChat, and remember, great delivery turns argument into impact. And thank you, and we can't wait to see you in September.
So yeah, the next session will start like September-ish. We haven't got a complete plan yet. But it will start near September, like the next semester. And yeah, that's basically it.